What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here to give you my favorite NFL player prop picks. We're talking the Saturday NFL betting slate. Saturday, December 21st is the day. We have two games on Saturday, Chiefs, Texans, and we have the Steelers versus Ravens. I'm going to have three plays for you guys to lock in for this NFL betting slate. We're getting to that time of year where there are basically NFL games. Any day you wake up, there's probably an NFL game. So instead of recapping days after days, which can get confusing, I'm just going to recap the week after the week is over. So at the time of this recording, week 15 was a decent, okay week. Monday Night Football, very good. Sunday, terrible. Thursday Night Football, week 15, fine. Up a little bit over a unit on the year, up a little bit over 28 units on the week, up a little bit over 28 units on the year, and I think 19% ROI on the year as well. But that's fine. Enough of that. Let's get into the picks for Saturday. Number one, Chiefs versus Texans game. I'm taking Joe Mixon under 87.5 rushing plus receiving yards. I know it sucks. It feels lame taking an under, but I absolutely think the under is the way to go under is the way to go for Joe Mixon in this game. There's a bunch of reasons for it. Number one, he's banged up. He suffered an ankle injury in the Texans' last game on Sunday. Now, he's probably going to play, right? He's been practicing. Everything looks good there. But the guess here is that the Texans are going to be a little bit safer with him and reduce his workload a little bit, right? Like they have their division locked up. There's no chance that they're going to get the 2 seed. Now, they could still flip-flop between 3 and 4 with the Steelers. So I'm not saying that they're going to like bench players and that they're not going to care about these games. And also, we have 3 weeks left. But I do think that they're going to be smart with Mixon, give him a little bit more rest to end the season, make sure that he is fresh for the playoffs. Mixon has also cooled off recently after just an absurd start to the year. I mean, we take out week 2 because he got hurt in that game, doesn't count. The over that we are betting, he did cash this in his first 7 games of the season. He literally cashed it in 7 straight games to start the year. He actually got over 100 combined rushing plus receiving in 6 of those 7 games as well. So not only has he gone over in the first 7, but he smoked the over. But since then, he's gone under in 2 of the 3 games. So he hit it in 7 straight. Now he's missed it in 2 of 3. And he has 45, and the two of the 3 games that he missed, 45 and 56 combined yards. So really not even that close. So let's just pretend, hey, he gets all the same workload that he's been getting. They're not taking it easy with him at all. 100%, not doing anything different. That's fine. I would still like this under because it's a very, very tough matchup against a Chiefs defense that has shut down running backs basically this entire season. Now, recently, they've been allowing a little bit more running yards than normal, but you just look at the entire season, Chiefs have allowed the fewest rushing yards per game. They've allowed the second lowest yards per carry in the entire NFL. And even recently, like since week 8, even though if you look at like running back over-unders, they've been allowing more running backs to go over their running back prop. Since week 8, they're still allowing the 3rd fewest rushing yards per game and the 7th lowest yards per carry. So yeah, not as good, still very good. And you just look at like advanced stats, paint this Chiefs running defense in a good light as well. 7th highest stuff rate in the NFL. They allow the lowest explosive run rate, 2nd lowest yards after contact per attempt, and the 7th lowest adjusted yards before contact per attempt. So I love looking at both after contact and before contact because those are the 2 things. It's either before or after contact. They're top 7 in both, which is the sign of a really good run defense. And they essentially allow 0 receiving work to the running back as well. Since week 8, they've allowed the fewest receiving yards in the entire NFL, specifically to running backs, and the 7th lowest target share go to the running back as well. So they don't allow rushing or receiving yards to running backs. And Mixon's cooled off a little bit, and you wonder if they're going to take it easy with him coming off an injury and all that stuff. So I know that it sucks, but I really like this under for Joe Mixon in this game on Saturday. Let's hope that happens. For our next play, we're riding with an over. So it's not going to be only unders in this one. Dalton Schultz over 28.5 receiving yards, -110 odds at Bet365. Not pumping this one up because the ceiling is not quite there for Dalton Schultz, but at his main line at 28.5, I really, really do like this number. And I know it feels gross, like it's been a down year for the Texans passing offense. They've been really, really disappointing. And Dalton Schultz himself has not really had that good of a year, but he also hasn't been terrible. Like I'm not saying that he's Brock Bowers, but he also hasn't been just in a complete abomination. He missed this in the first 3 games of the year, so that felt gross. Since then, he's gone over in 5 of his last 10. Now, 50% hit rate doesn't sound amazing, but that's also not terrible. And in 2 of the games he went under, one of them he had exactly 28 receiving yards. That would be a brutal hook. And another one he had exactly 27. Not quite a hook, but very close. So He's either gotten like 27 or more receiving yards in 7 of his last 10 games, which shows that the floor is a lot better than what we think. And I like the fact that he averages over 5 targets in his last 10 games as well. 5 targets is a respectable number for someone we're only asking to basically get 30 receiving yards. And the Chiefs' passing defense is very good. One area in which they've been weak is guarding the tight end position. And they're not as bad recently as they were at the beginning of the year, but they're still absolutely a defense you want to target for tight end props. They will essentially let themselves give up work to the tight end position, and they do everything they can to shut down work to running backs and wide receivers. As I mentioned, they allow the fewest receiving yards per game to running backs. That's still the case since week 8, so there's really no hiding the fact that they have been very, very good guarding the running back in the receiving game. And they've also allowed the 5th fewest receiving yards in the entire NFL, specifically to wide receivers. So they've been a little bit better, I should say. They've not had been as good shutting down wide receivers recently, but still allowing the 5th fewest receiving yards to wide receivers on the entire season. And you look at for tight ends, on the entire season, they've allowed the most receiving yards per game to tight ends and the 6th most since week 8. So basically, like weeks 1 through 7, there was like nothing to the wide receiver position, everything to the tight end. They've moved a little bit closer together since week 8 and on, but still 6th most receiving yards to tight ends since week 8 is still very, very good and still a defense that you want to target for tight end props. And you just go through the game log of tight ends against the Chiefs. Only 2 starting and healthy tight ends against the Chiefs have missed their receiving prop over. Only 2 of them. Now, some backups didn't hit it, and some starters got hurt and also didn't hit it, like Will Dissly was on his way. He got hurt in his game against the Chiefs, so I take him out. I just want to look at players that are the starting tight ends and that are healthy. Again, only 2 of them have not hit their over-under against the Chiefs. One of them was Mark Andrews, who he did not hit that in week 1. Isaiah Likely blew up for 111 yards in that game. So, yeah, it didn't go to Mark Andrews, but it did go to Isaiah Likely. And the other one that missed was Brock Bowers, who had 58 receiving yards. His over-under was 63.5. That was the first time the Raiders and the Chiefs played. The second time the Raiders and the Chiefs played, Brock Bowers had 140 yards. So, just blew up against them. And the only other guys, as I mentioned, that have gone under against the Chiefs have been backups or guys that get injured. Schultz is a starter. I'm not expecting him to get injured. I think he's going to get over 5 targets in this one. At least 5 is the floor. And with 5 targets, I'm pretty confident he's going to get at least 30 yards to cash out this play. And then our last one, our third and final pick of the video. We're heading to the Steelers versus Ravens game, and we're taking Jaylen Warren, 25 plus receiving yards, plus 125 odds at DraftKings. So Warren is the type of guy where you cannot look at his entire season-long stats because you are not going to be impressed. He missed this in his first 6 games of the season that he played in. Now, he missed some time, so I'm saying the first 6 games that he played in, he did not go 25 or more receiving yards. Since then, he has cashed it in 4 of his last 6. So the beginning of the year, he was in and out of the lineup due to injuries. He missed some game. He was banged up in some other games. But as he's gotten healthy over the last 6 weeks, he's been used more, and he's been very good. Now, his main line receiving prop is 20.5, but every single game, he's gone over 20.5. He's also hit 25. So, as you know, I love to do, makes way more sense to pump this up to 25 plus, get the plus money for this one, get the plus 125 odds. That's what I love to do. And the Ravens defense, they're incredibly good run defense, but you can pass on them. They give it up to both the wide receiver and the running back, but, George Pickens is injured. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I didn't really want to mess with a Steelers wide receiver. I think that's going to be up in the air basically up until the game starts on Saturday. But they also give it up to the running back position, and I don't think Jaylen Warren is really going to be impacted whether George Pickens plays or not. So I kind of feel that he is the safer option while we just ignore the wide receiver position. Looking at the Ravens defense, 5th best run defense according to DVOA in the entire NFL. They allow the 2nd lowest rushing yards per game, the lowest yards per carry, and they've dealt with some injuries to their nose tackles, so their stats since week 7 are not quite as good as their season-long stats. Still good overall. 6th lowest rushing yards per game allowed since week 7, on the 2nd lowest yards per carry. And I mentioned this when I talked about the Chiefs, but they have an absurd combination. They allow the lowest yards after contact per attempt, and that's both on the season and since week 7, so that's still the case, even with those injuries. And they've allowed the 6th lowest adjusted yards before contact per attempt. So top 6 in both categories, literally the number 1 after contact, shows a really good run defense. But as far as the receiving back goes, or guarding running backs through the air, they've allowed on the entire season the 5th most receiving yards per game in the entire NFL, specifically to running backs, the 4th most since week 7. They've also allowed the 7th highest target share go to the running back position on the entire season. That's at about 17%. And the 5th most since week 9 at about 18.7%. So they're giving up decent work to the running back. And that's with also giving up a lot of work to the wide receiver as well. So they just give up a lot of work in general through the air. Part of that is to the running back. Jaylen Warren is a very good receiving back. Russell Wilson loves to dump it off to him. So I think Warren's going to have a good game in this one. For context, his over-under receptions prop is over-under 2.5 with the over incredibly juiced. So the books are expecting him to get 3 receptions. And I get that, the average depth of target and all that stuff is lower for a running back. But if you're telling me that the books are projecting him to get 3 receptions, I'll gladly take for him to get 25 plus receiving yards, especially at the plus money price. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. 3 plays on this NFL Saturday. Let's hope to go 3-0 and have a good one.